I'm Tara Sweeter with Viral News. We've been introduced to a new technology, RepliCel. I have CEO David Hall with us. Can you tell us a little bit about this new technology?
RepliCel has developed an autologous cell therapy for treating pattern baldness. Essentially what we do is we take a small biopsy from the back of a person's head. We isolate a certain group of cells called dermal sheath cup cells. We replicate them into the millions, and then we move them up into the top of the scalp where they're re-injected. In essence, it's like a cellular microtransplant, if you will.
So what percentage of people suffer from pattern baldness?
Well, 70% of males by the time they're middle-aged.
70%.
And upwards of 30 to 40% of women.
So as far as the market's concerned, what's the big picture?
Well, it's an almost $2 billion market for microtransplant surgery alone, and it's an over $1 billion market for the drugs, for which, you know, they don't work for everybody. I mean, the market is actually significantly larger if you could actually get to a treatment that had better efficacy. Microtransplant surgery is the standard of care. It's the gold standard, no doubt about it, but it is limited because it's in the hands of, you know, the outcome is in the hands of the surgeon, and not all surgeons are created equal.
I understand that you've just released news on your first-in-man human clinical trials. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. We just released the interim results of a 2-year study. We looked at it. We had a 6-month look at efficacy and safety. We proved beyond a shadow of a doubt the safety, which was critical for our next phase, and we demonstrated some efficacy at 6 months, which was critically important for an investment decision going forward.
So can you expand on the results?
Absolutely. In terms of the number that really means something to a patient, we presented an average of 6.1% increase in density over 6 months, which means that we had responders of the 16 patients that were measured. We had responders in the teens and some who hadn't yet responded above baseline at 6 months.
Can you elaborate what you mean by density?
Certainly. Density is the measurement of the hair follicles, vellus and terminal, per square centimeter. And it's the most important measurement in terms of giving you coverage. You know, when you look at you know, somebody's hair, you don't distinguish. Obviously, there's more terminal hairs than vellus hairs, but you really don't distinguish when you're looking at coverage. So the important thing is the trend of growth in density, which is the overall coverage of the spot that's been treated. It's just plain and simple, it's coverage.
So you mentioned 6.1% density. Is that good?
Yes, it's good. It's positive. It allows us to go to the next stage. It's early at 6 months. You know, you typically would measure these things at 12 months. That in the context of other treatments is actually good, relatively speaking. And again, there's a wide range of results, teens to no result for those measured. So for us, it's a great result. It takes us to the next stage. It makes us, it gives us the information necessary to make an investment in this larger phase 2B trial, which is the iterative step that we have to take to get to approval.
So moving forward for RepliCel, what's the next step? What's the next stage?
The next stage is a phase 2B dosing trial, which is where we'll have significantly more patients, upwards of 100 patients, different patient cohorts being treated with different doses and different actually treatment regimes, maybe 1 or 2 or not just 1, but maybe 2 or even 3 injections at various periods of time. That's something that we're going to sit down and begin that process now that we have the safety and the efficacy data to go forward. We're going to start to bring that process to a close, file for an investigational medical product dossier that we'll put in front of the regulators that will allow us to go into that trial, and we're likely to do it by the end of this year.
David, with all this information that you're giving me on this new technology, it sounds almost like it could be revolutionary.
Well, I hope so. I think if you can treat any large market, that's a blockbuster. You know, it's an unmet medical need. It's a significant unmet medical need as witnessed by the marketplace. And we think we have a program that will eventually develop a solution.
So we can expect more news in the near future?
Absolutely.
And you can find that news on RepliCel.com. I'm Tara Sweeter with Viral News.